Welcome back to Other Duties as Assigned. This is an on the ground look at one of the duties that's assigned. It's a Saturday morning, and my 5-year-old son and I are out at a soccer game. We've had rain, and everything gets juggled around as an administrative team. And next thing you know, you're in charge of a soccer game. So I'm out in the golf cart. We're getting ready to get the field set up. We've cleaned up and got the goals set, made sure bathrooms are open and drinks for the officials. We're going to talk more about that in the episode here in just a second, but I wanted to give you an on-the-field look with Thomas and I as we're heading to help around the game. So more information about this duty in just a second. Well, I decided to finish up this episode and give you the meat of this other duty while I was sitting at a game doing some supervision. One of the duties, especially of a high school administrator, is to spend time supervising events. Supervising events is a great other duty. It's one of my favorite ones because you get to see your students, whether it's in athletics or the fine arts, marching band, musical performances. You get to see kids doing something that they love. And that's great. And it makes such a great connection to be able to talk to them about it, on Monday at school or the next day, tell them that you saw them. They always see you. Mostly, my experience is that kids thank you for coming, even though it's part of your job. They're excited to see you when you're at an event. So there's no doubt that the ability to, the opportunity to get to watch kids perform is a great part of this other duty. But I think there's more to it than that. I think when you're doing this other duty, it's your chance to make connections with people outside of the student body and the faculty. We talk about relationships from the very beginning on this podcast, but I think, I love the chance to talk to parents, to help, somebody's grandma. Often on a golf cart like this, I'll pick up somebody's grandma in the parking lot and get them to the bleachers and get them back at the end of the game and get to talk about their grandkids. And I think those are the times where you're really making some deposits for future interactions with parents. Sometimes down the road, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years later, you may have to call up a parent to have a tougher conversation. And, you've built some relationships. They know that you care about their kids and you're doing the right things. And it's definitely an opportunity that shouldn't be squandered. I always, it's easy to just sit back and not interact. It's easy to sit there and talk to the other administrators or talk to the coaches and just kind of sit there and watch the game. But taking those opportunities to go out, get in the concession line and wait for a box of popcorn or get a Diet Coke, and as you're standing there, engage and talk to both your future students, the elementary and middle school kids, as well as, parents and other members of the community. I would also say, it's an opportunity, to continue to be part of having a great experience. A school, obviously, is a school day. It's for us, it's 8:05 to 3:05, and that's a big part of the school experience. But what happens outside of school is also a huge part of that. And so I think, being able to make those connections and make the experience at an event be really positive adds to that school culture, that school spirit that we're all looking for, because for some kids, that's the reason they get up and come to school. That's the reason they have great memories of your school, and we want to continue to always foster those. I think that's a part of being a school administrator, especially a high school administrator, that you don't ever want to doubt, is that, those kids who are in the show choir, that's the thing that they're going to always remember. Those are the friendships, those are the connections that are going to be way more meaningful to them than an algebra class or an English class. And making those connections are what makes school. For some kids, it's the reason they get up and come to school on the days they don't want to. For some kids, it's the reason they pass some of those classes you need them to do for graduation, is because they want to be eligible. And I think that's a really big part of the high school experience. And it's something that you definitely can't take for granted. And I think helping to nurture that, helping to, hire coaches and teachers that help to build that experience, I think is really important. Those extracurriculars, those clubs, those sporting events are really important. I think another thing as you think about being at a sporting event, one of the things that we do is, we're telling our story. We've talked about that before, but I help a lot with that when I'm sitting at a soccer game like I am today. And we'll be, we had our cross country meet was an away meet, but our athletic director sent me a picture of the young man who won the conference cross country, and I'm going to turn that into a graphic, and then that's going to go out on our social media feeds so that we can continue to highlight success and highlight hard work. And we always are going to want to do that, because I think we're telling our story, but we're also setting the standard for what we want to see our other student athletes do. And I think that's an important part of this role. I think the other part too is, as a former coach, I always appreciated when I saw administrators at events, because your coaches, being a coach is not the best paying job. If a coach ever figures out what they're making per hour, they'll quit. But it's a great job, and it's a great way to connect with kids and to do something that you love. And I loved the 15 years that I spent coaching football, but those administrators that were there, and I could tell that they cared about what we were doing, and they invested in us both with their time, but also with their resources, and that made it easier to coach, because I knew that those people had my back and they had our back. And as a program, to see that continue is important, and I want people to always feel that way. No matter if you're a football coach or a tennis coach or a cross country coach, or you're running the musical or you're helping with the play, I always want our folks, our staff, to know how much I appreciate them and how much as a team we appreciate them. And I think that's why it's important that we're there and that we are sitting in the auditorium to watch events, watching a choir concert, watching a musical, but also just telling them that they're doing a great job, because those connections with kids are just so important. This is another duty that it's kind of a little quicker, but it's so important, and it takes up time. And I would say, one of the things, the lead-in video with my son sitting with me, I think that's another time. This is a duty that you can involve your family in. It's often over the years of being an administrator that I've had my kids with me at events. It's time when sometimes I'm watching my kids. One of my daughters is out here playing soccer today, and so I'm cheering her on and helping to supervise. So I kind of buy one, get one free a little bit. But I think, don't be afraid to bring your kids to help you supervise. They get to see what mom or dad do, and how kids interact with you and how important it is. And I think that helps them to know how much you care about what you're doing, and you set a tone for what it is to find a career that really truly makes you happy and really fills you up like this one can if you do it right. Well, that's this duty. There'll be more to come. I think we're going to dive into the master schedule next. We're going to do a multi-part look at creating a master schedule, some of the nuances, some of the art, but also some of the science behind building a master schedule, and that'll be up next. Thanks again for tuning in to this duty, and have a wonderful day. Thank you.